Peace be with you. Yes, again, we now bring the year of faith to a close and look forward to the coming season of Advent leading us to Christmas. It's also a time in which we are again very much aware of the issue of the challenge to our faith with many of the things in terms of government regulations that have now been imposed upon us, that we're still struggling to find exactly how to deal with them that's consistent with our faith. I did have the opportunity of joining our state deputy, John Boudreau, and the state chaplains and state deputies from the other jurisdictions for the mid-year meeting in Quebec City, Canada, in which we also were able to hear from our Supreme officers and Supreme chaplain as well, and had a chance to meet the new coordinator of chaplain activities. And so it certainly was a good opportunity. Following that was the November meeting of the Conference of the United States Bishops. And within the course of that conference, the body chose to endorse a letter basically looking at some of the challenges that affect us in the area of religious liberty and the things related to it. And so this is not usually the way I approach these opportunities to talk with you, but I'm simply going to read it because it's very well written and it's very substantive, and encourage you to become knowledgeable of this because it certainly fits in with our mission as an order and all of the things that our order stands for. The bishops of this country have just concluded their traditional fall meeting in Baltimore and have spent time on issues important to them and their people. Help to those suffering from Typhoon Haiyan, an update on the situation in Haiti, matters of worship and teaching, service to the poor, and comprehensive immigration reform. Among those priorities is the protection of religious freedom, especially as threatened by the HHS mandate. Pope Francis has reminded us that in the context of society, there is only one thing which the Church quite clearly demands: the freedom to proclaim the gospel in its entirety, even when it runs counter to the world, even when it goes against the tide. We stand together as pastors charged with proclaiming the gospel in its entirety. The gospel calls us to feed the poor, heal the sick, and educate the young, and in so doing, witness to our faith in its fullness. Our great ministries of service and our clergy, religious sisters and brothers, and lay faithful, especially those involved in church apostolates, strive to answer this call every day, and the Constitution and the law protect our freedom to do so. Yet, with its coercive HHS mandate, the government is refusing to uphold its obligations to respect the rights of religious believers. Beginning in March 2012, in United for Religious Freedom, we identified three basic problems with the HHS mandate. It establishes a false architecture of religious liberty that excludes our ministries, and so reduces freedom of religion to freedom of worship. It compels our ministries to participate in providing employees with abortifacients, both drugs and devices, sterilization, and contraception, which violates our deeply held beliefs. And it compels our faithful people in business to act against our teachings, failing to provide them any exemption at all. Despite our repeated efforts to work and dialogue towards a solution, those problems remain. Not only does the mandate undermine our ministry's ability to witness to our faith, which is their core mission, but the penalties it imposes also lay a great burden on those ministries, threatening their very ability to survive and to serve the many who rely on their care. The current impasse is all the more frustrating because the Catholic Church has long been a leading provider of and advocate for accessible, life-affirming health care. We would have preferred to spend these recent past years working toward this shared goal instead of resisting this intrusion into our religious liberty. We have been forced to devote time and resources to a conflict we did not start nor want. As the government's implementation of the mandate against us approaches, we bishops stand united in our resolve to resist this heavy burden and protect our religious freedom. Even as each bishop struggles to address the mandate, together we are striving to develop alternative avenues of response to this difficult situation. We seek to answer the gospel call to serve our neighbors, to meet our obligations to provide our people with just health insurance, protect our religious freedom, and not be coerced to violate our consciences. We remain grateful for the unity we share in this endeavor with Americans of all other faiths, and even with those with no faith at all. It is our hope that our ministries and lay faithful will be able to continue providing insurance in a manner consistent with the faith of our church. We will continue our efforts in Congress, and especially with the promising initiatives in the courts, to protect the religious freedom that ensures our ability to fulfill the gospel by serving the common good. This resolve is particularly providential on this feast of the patroness of immigrants, St. Frances Xavier Cabrini. She was a brave woman who fought and brought with full vigor of her religious faith to the service of the sick, the poor, children, the elderly, and the immigrant. We count on her intercession. As united, we obey and command the command of Jesus to serve the least of our brothers and sisters. May the Lord bless you as the coming season of Advent draws near, in which the presence of the Lord himself in our midst, in a human form, is the focus of our celebration.